FIFA promised the world the biggest tournament in football history. More stadiums, more matches, more fans, a World Cup spread across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Gianni Infantino called it 104 Super Bowls. But only months before kickoff, a different story is starting to emerge. Hotels in multiple host cities are struggling with bookings. Ticket resale prices are falling. International supporters are dealing with visa delays, expensive travel costs, and uncertainty around border policies. And now, for the first time, people inside football are quietly asking a dangerous question. What if the biggest World Cup ever doesn't actually feel like a World Cup? When North America won the right to host the 2026 World Cup, the decision felt obvious: massive stadiums, huge sponsorship deals, modern infrastructure. FIFA believed this tournament would change football forever. More teams than ever before, more games than any World Cup in history, more revenue than any sporting event on Earth. But football history has always shown something important. A World Cup is not remembered because of money, it is remembered because of atmosphere. People remember Germany 2006 because entire cities became football festivals. South Africa 2010 because of the sound of vuvuzelas echoing across the world. Qatar 2022 because Moroccan supporters turned the tournament into something emotional and unforgettable. The fans create the memory. Without them, even the biggest stadium becomes just another building. And that is exactly where the fear surrounding 2026 begins, because this tournament is colliding with something football has never experienced on this scale before. Modern immigration politics. The first warning signs came from the hotel industry. Across several American host cities, booking numbers reportedly started falling below expectations. That surprised tourism officials because World Cups are supposed to overwhelm cities with visitors. Hotels prepare years in advance. Airlines add flights. Restaurants hire extra staff. Entire downtown economies expect a financial explosion. But analysts quickly noticed the problem. International supporters were hesitating, not because they didn't love football, and because entering the United States suddenly felt expensive, stressful, and uncertain. Visa delays, long embassy appointments, high travel costs, border anxiety. For millions of supporters, attending the World Cup no longer felt simple. It felt risky. And maybe the strangest part of this story is that FIFA believed North America would be the safest commercial bet in football history. This was supposed to be the moment football fully conquered the American entertainment market. Huge sponsorships, massive corporate partnerships, record-breaking profits. But football culture does not work like the NFL or NBA. World Cup energy cannot simply be bought through advertising. It depends on traveling supporters. It depends on emotional chaos. Airports full of fans, streets full of chants, city centers flooded with flags from every country on Earth. That human energy is what transforms a tournament into history. Then, the ticket market started sending warning signs too. FIFA introduced aggressive pricing for the 2026 tournament, pushing many tickets far beyond what ordinary supporters expected. At first, demand looked enormous. Brokers treated tickets like investments, fans rushed to buy early, but then resale prices started falling. Some reportedly dropped dramatically within weeks, and in sports economics, collapsing resale prices often signal weakening demand. Once buyers realize prices are dropping, many stop purchasing and wait for cheaper deals, which pushes prices even lower. But the real danger goes beyond money, because football culture depends on traveling supporters. World Cups are remembered for Brazilian songs, Argentinian drums, Moroccan celebrations, English away fans, and Japanese supporters cleaning stadiums after matches. Those moments become part of football history. And suddenly, many people inside the sport started wondering if enough international supporters would even be present to create those memories in 2026. Then football's biggest problem stopped being money. It became something much harder to fix: fear. World Cup supporters travel differently from fans in almost any other sport. They do not just attend matches, they take over entire cities. They sing in train stations. They march through streets. They create spontaneous celebrations that become part of the identity of the tournament itself. Some of the greatest World Cup memories never even happened inside stadiums. They happened outside, in fan zones, in packed public squares, in streets filled with flags, smoke, drums, and emotion. That atmosphere cannot be recreated through corporate hospitality packages or VIP experiences. It only exists when ordinary supporters from around the world feel welcome enough to arrive in huge numbers. And that is why so many people are paying attention to the warning signs surrounding 2026. Of course, some cities will still deliver incredible scenes. Miami, Los Angeles, Mexico City, Toronto, these places already have deep football cultures and massive immigrant communities connected to them. Game matches involving Brazil, Argentina, England, or Mexico will almost certainly feel electric, but concern remains around smaller group stage matches in cities without the same football identity. Because atmosphere cannot be manufactured, not even by FIFA, and if traveling supporters stay away while domestic audiences hesitate because of pricing, some matches could feel strangely flat compared to previous World Cups. Not empty, but missing something important, and football fans notice that difference immediately. Behind closed doors, the pressure surrounding this tournament is likely enormous. Sponsors expect iconic visuals, broadcasters expect massive audiences, host cities expect tourism revenue. Entire business projections depend on the idea that World Cup 2026 will become a global celebration unlike anything football has ever seen before, which is why the uncertainty feels so uncomfortable, because nobody wants to publicly admit that the atmosphere could fall below expectations. Because ultimately, the World Cup has never been just about football. For 1 month, cities change completely, streets fill with flags, train stations become singing crowds, strangers from different countries celebrate together like lifelong friends. That atmosphere is what separates the World Cup from every other sporting event on Earth, and maybe that is the real fear surrounding 2026, not empty hotels, not falling ticket prices, but the possibility that football's biggest tournament could lose the feeling that made it magical in the first place. Long before the billion-dollar sponsorships and corporate branding transformed football, the World Cup belonged to traveling supporters, to the fans sleeping in airports, to the crowds taking over city centers, to the noise, chaos, and emotion television can never fully capture. And yet, despite everything, football still has a way of changing the entire story overnight. One unforgettable goal, one dramatic upset, one crowd exploding under the lights. And suddenly, every doubt disappears for a moment. That possibility is why millions of people still believe World Cup 2026 can succeed. Because once the football begins, the game itself can become bigger than politics, headlines, and uncertainty. But right now, the warning signs are impossible to ignore. The largest World Cup in history is approaching without the momentum FIFA expected, and supporters around the world are beginning to wonder whether the tournament can truly recreate the atmosphere that made previous World Cups unforgettable. Because for generations, fans crossed continents not simply to watch football, but to feel part of something global. And when supporters begin talking more about visas, border restrictions, and travel anxiety than the football itself, the emotional identity of the tournament starts changing before a single ball has even been kicked. FIFA still has time to change the narrative. The football itself may still unite everything once kickoff arrives, but the closer this tournament gets, the more pressure builds on everyone involved to prove that the world's biggest sporting event still truly belongs to the world,